Hi, welcome to this week's slightly later edition of Blues Talk. We're again,
Blues Talk late night.
We're again, John, Dave and myself are going to look back over Leinster's defeat, or very infrequent defeat in the RDS against Glasgow, and of course look forward to the European Cup semi-final against Toulouse and Munster's game against Sarries. So lads, 24-39 against Glasgow, disappointing?
Yeah, pretty much. It's always disappointing to lose at home. Come on. You can't say it wasn't disappointing, but Jesus, they threw the kitchen sink at us, and we, they needed the win. We didn't. The old story, just like the Treviso game. Apparently, Johnny Gray made 43 tackles. It was revised upwards, and I don't think anyone in any of the leagues has made as many tackles in the game.
And Glasgow made 331 tackles.
Their back five alone. Well, 6 if you include the guy who went off after 2 minutes who didn't manage to make a tackle. But the back five alone made 156 tackles, which was more than either Toulouse or Clermont managed the following day. And Glasgow's total, as you say, 331, was more than the combined totals of Clermont and Toulouse the following day, which is a top level game.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
It was a fairly heroic defensive effort. I mean, like you say, 43 tackles, 156 in the back five. That's astonishing stats. I mean, Leinster only made 165 in the match, and that'd be, a fairly normal amount or a good amount of tackles to make. But 156 just for the back five.
Well, they had, as you said, you mentioned they had skin in the game. They have, and they still haven't secured a home semi-final.
Not totally, no.
So okay, they play Edinburgh next weekend.
They don't need a whole heap out of it.
But still, Edinburgh are still fighting for their,
of course,
position. So.
And the other one doesn't make any difference. Connacht can't be caught for third, as far as I know, and Munster can't be caught by Connacht. So it doesn't make any odds to Connacht whether they lose. Yeah. So they won't have it, and they're away in Thomond Park. So
but I'm sure Munster want to get a home.
Well, of course they do, yeah. But you have to think Munster are going to have an easier job than Glasgow, Edinburgh do have skin in the game, as you say. But that game. It was. They say defence is an attitude. You hear fellas like Andy Farrell say that it's a state of mind, and if you have your attitude right, it's half the battle with defence. So they were obviously well up for it. It's the second time they've joined the club of. I think it's only Clonettley and Ospreys have beaten us twice in the RDS.
Yeah.
Ospreys 3 times and a draw. Treviso once and a draw, and now Glasgow twice. None of Munster haven't managed. Well, Munster never plays there, in fairness to them. But Ulster haven't managed it. None of the other.
You could really just we've been playing there for just over 10 years now, and you could count those defeats on 2 hands.
Very easily. We don't lose very often there at all.
So it's kind of a big deal when we do.
Oh yeah, it is.
Now, admittedly,
we did all the work earlier in the season, so we can afford
exactly.
to.
And last season, we kind of took our foot off the gas too. So you kind of have to take them with a little bit of pinch of salt. The only thing I would say is it was disappointing that we conceded those 3 tries.
Yeah.
In the last quarter of an hour, we were still leading with a quarter of an hour to go, and
it is. But that's that's when you traditionally batten down and you kind of. You set.
But I'm sure,
but it's hard to mentally get into that when you know you don't have to.
But when you look at, I'm sure there was some of the starters or the the senior guys are looking and they're seeing Tadhg Furlong's after going off. He didn't look in great shape. I want to play in a European Cup semi-final. I want to play in a Pro 14 final a couple of weeks later. You know what I mean? I'm sure they're thinking, save the bod.
Possibly. Well, effectively,
they didn't need to make 43 tackles and put their, I'm sure your man Gray's body is in rag order after that.
But you see, Johnny Gray and all the rest of the Glasgow team have a week off next week, so they can afford to throw the kitchen sink at it. Toulouse, the good news is Toulouse played a day later, so they've got to travel, and B, they've got a day less to recover.
It was a pretty high intensity game as well.
It was. Having said that, we could have got lucky with a sighting there for Joe Takori, which. Apparently he's good to play next week.
That's actually the EPRC have asked the LNR for a bit of clarification on that, because EPC or It came out this evening. EPCR regulations are when you get a red card.
He didn't. He got a yellow.
Sorry. When you get a sighting, when you get a sighting, you're suspended pending the sighting hearing. Whereas in France, you're not suspended until the outcome of the sighting hearing. And of course, in Guinness Premiership, Guinness Premiership and Pro 14, the sighting happens the same week. Whereas in France, it's not the first time. The French do tend to do stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I mean, so he could. It's not certain that he'll be available just yet.
Well, we'll take anything we can get in terms of Toulouse.
I didn't see it live. I watched it on YouTube. My God, it was some hit.
Oh yeah.
Like that's seriously dangerous. I'm not as like say the one against the Racing game. I wasn't as I was like, or even the one Munster against was it Exeter? Was it Exeter?
No, Gloucester.
Gloucester, sorry.
Cipriani's.
Yeah, and I kind of thought, my God, hardly it was the Greys rather than, but like that was a serious
dunt.
Yeah, I wouldn't use my black card plus patent pending for that one. That one I would have considered a red, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, whether he plays or whether he doesn't play, we saw in losing against Glasgow how to beat them. How to beat Toulouse. Because there's no way Toulouse are going to be able to go through defensive sets like that. They just aren't. I mean, culturally or physically, they're not going to be able to do it.
Perhaps.
Putting in that amount of tackles in a game, I mean, that's just not the way it's done in French rugby.
Yeah,
they play a different way.
We'll hit up with that match a little bit later. Let's just get the Glasgow game and the other Pro 14 matches.
Your man Dunn played really well, I thought. Yeah. Considering it's his first start, is it?
Yeah. He reminds you of young Malcolm O'Kelly. So he would. I mean, he has all that. I mean, he has that coltishness because obviously of his youth, but he's also got he's got good skills, good hands, and that he reminds me a lot of a young Mal.
Well, if he turns out half as good as Mal,
we'll be doing all right.
And like he played in, he played in. It wasn't just dead rubber games. I know it was kind of semi-dead rubber from our point of view, but like the other two teams that he played against, Treviso and Glasgow were up for it. They have something to play for. He wasn't like we were playing, a match that was really wasn't going to trouble the scorers. Like it was important.
And he was up against top opponents as well.
And it was a very unusual set of tries in that game. There was 6 tries scored by some brothers. There was the Carneys. Got 4 of our 4
brace apiece.
And then Ferguson's got 2.
That's right, yeah.
Ferguson, sorry. And it was Rob Carney's first try since September 2016.
Wow.
And they're like buses, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. The 46A or 53 games non-scoring streak for Leinster.
Wow.
Do you have them up there, Dave?
Yeah.
It's very unusual, to go that long without scoring a try, and then to get 2 at once.
Towner looked in good fettle considering he hasn't played, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Henshaw.
And Henshaw too, yeah. Came back strong.
And they hadn't played in 13 weeks, so it was.
That was a beautiful pass.
It was
over the top, and he finished it well too.
The thing about Gibson Park, and there's a lot of talk about, and we'll come to the 2 out of 3 conundrum. But the thing about Gibson Park, what he does is he manipulates the pace of the game in that red zone really, really well. Between, little dink passes and that really whippy cut-out pass. I mean, the one to you see this one here, that was another kind of whipped pass just to try and, speed up the game.
But that was a beaut.
Yeah, but it's great variation.
Well, dive.
Hug didn't do a great job now, in fairness to him.
Yeah.
He's a big, strong guy, Dave.
He is. You'd see him calling for it there. He knew where he was going. But still, you see guys who don't finish those, It was a 1-on-1. So, you'd have to back yourself for that.
And here's the lesser sighted Carney try scorer. It was a good maul actually, because we kept our shape very well despite a lot of interference.
And there's Tamani, who also
Had a good
probably
game,
his
yeah.
best game for Leinster. And the aforementioned Mr. Dunn.
Yeah, I heard somebody slagging off Carney for his lack of try scoring, which is fair enough, I suppose. But
He used to
we
bang him
do
in
get
when
a
he was
lot of
kid.
scores elsewhere. You know,
Oh,
like
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
the ball doesn't necessarily go to the fullback. Like I think that someone was saying that Conway had scored 39 tries in 7 years for Munster, but like we've scored the highest. No, I think we've scored 14 more tries than Glasgow have at 93. This in the Pro 14.
It's a record,
It's
I
a bit
think.
like criticising Shea Given for his international goal scoring record. You know, he actually did very well there because he had a bit of a juggle.
Yeah. It fell for him, in fairness.
Yeah.
He was lucky enough. But remember, he used to bang them in his first few years.
He
He
was
was
playing on the wing
forever.
then a lot,
He
so
was
he was.
forever banging them in. Yeah. Now he has a different role in the team, shall we say? Did I hear Gibson Park got injured?
Somebody was
Yeah.
saying that today. Whether how much veracity to it there is, he's not pictured in any of the training pictures, but those are selected for release. You know, they don't just dump a whole load of them on online. You know, this is a nice try as well.
It's good hands, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He is a powerful guy. If you can get him into those positions in that 5 metre zone, he's going to score tries.
It's been a while anyway since he scored.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he's
Yeah, a lot of the guys who'd we be looking to select on Sunday did play very well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cian Healy played well when he came on. Ty played well until he had to go off. Actually, in fairness, Michael Bent played very well.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very powerful guy. If you look at him clearing out rucks, either in attack or defence, he's really powerful.
Yeah.
I thought Tamani had a very good game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He
Well-
might have just saved that bench spot for himself. I
You
mean,
never
I'm sure
know,
It
yeah.
was between him and Rory O'Loughlin, or it is between him and Rory O'Loughlin. So it was timely for him to have that.
Well, Lancaster gave an update on the squad
Yeah.
today, and he said that
Johnny Sexton's good to go, as is Tyke Furlong.
yeah, which is great to hear because I thought that might have been like Furlong came off with a bit of anguish on his face.
Yeah.
Well, he also got up and was looking like he was going to play on.
And he came off
And
immediately after.
then they said, hold on a minute here. It's bigger fish to fry.
Because see, they walk towards us, John,
And
when they're
they're-
coming off. So you actually see
Brother
them,
You see the
feeds.
you
faces.
see them wincing or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Brother feeds brother
Yeah.
for the last try
Lovely
there.
pass from Ross Byrne to give
Yeah,
Jordan
was,
Armour a 1-on-4.
Yeah.
which is all he needs.
The dancing feet.
Nice
Him,
little flea
Matualo and Hogg are two serious handfuls in the back three as well. Imagine a back three of him, Larmour, Matualo and Hogg.
Not the way they're defending there, I wouldn't.
It's good
Well,
to
in
see
attack.
Will Connors come on to be the
Yeah.
56th
Yeah, yeah.
capped player this season.
Yeah, it's good to see. He's
See him
had
back. He was
he had
out
a
for a long
bad
time.
time out with injury. It's good to see him back. Yeah,
Pre-season, wasn't it?
yeah, it was.
Well,
yeah.
it was against
Pre-season.
Newcastle, yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to see him back.
So we just quickly rattle through some of the. Well, actually, first of all, we say it's nice to meet Murdo, myself, and
Oh, yeah,
John
yeah.
met him for a pint.
And we answered your question about Johnny Gray.
So
Yeah, unfortunately, I got stuck in traffic and I couldn't. Anyway,
so it was nice to meet him up, and maybe we'll see him in Glasgow for the final.
You never know.
You never know. So, okay, some of the other results. So, Friday night, Edinburgh hosted Ulster. Ulster milled them.
Yeah, that's
Um,
Ulster qualified, yeah.
That's Ulster
to play
qualified, yeah.
Connacht.
Yeah, I was going to say Treviso were beaten by Munster.
Yeah, it
Which I was
was
surprised at that result. Munster,
yeah, Munster did well. Munster,
Munster
you know,
did very well
did-
considering
did-
the team they
yeah,
selected.
It was an understrength Munster team, and they really gave it socks. Like, they
And it
really
was a
did.
tight game until close
Yeah.
to the end as well. Munster came out at the end
they
and banged
unleashed their
in
belt, their
bench.
bench.
But they do that. They have that ability. Sometimes Munster can kind of lull you into it with a false sense of security, and then they kind of go. They move away towards the end. It's not the first time it's happened this season.
Connacht beat Cardiff over in Galway.
Very important match.
Yeah.
Not
Very
without its
important match.
controversy.
Oh,
There was a try in the corner that the Cardiff player dived for the line, put the ball down with one hand, and with his other hand, the question was it in touch?
did he flick the flag?
No, the touching goal line.
Okay, right.
So the question, the TMO decided that he was in touching goal with his hand. So the try didn't stand.
Okay.
Cardiff, not unreasonably, thought that he wasn't in touching goal. That is, he got the ball down before he had touching goal. Look, I've looked at it a load of times. I looked at it a couple of times because I had it on the Skybox, and I looked at it a couple of times on Twitter, and I can honestly say I haven't a fucking clue.
Well, they were actually Connacht.
Give them the benefit of the doubt if you haven't a clue, really, shouldn't you?
Well, there is that.
Attacking
There is a school
team.
of thought that says you should always give the benefit of the doubt to
team.
the attacking
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
But like Connacht won that game by 7 points, so
Yeah, it was a big thing. It was.
Big
It was a big thing, and it was a bad. It kind of started what has turned out to be a bad week for Cardiff. Obviously
Anscombe leaving.
The news that the confirmation that Anscombe is leaving. Not as bad a week as it was though for the Ospreys video team. With one of the more bizarre videos. I sent it on to you guys. You saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit
black blood.
black blood. Yeah. Anyway,
Bit strange.
Well, Anscombe will be playing for Cardiff. Well, probably will be playing for
Yes,
Cardiff
there, yes,
in the in the last game where he could actually put Ospreys out
yeah. Imagine it's 14-all.
of the Champions Cup.
80 minutes, time's up on the clock, and Anscombe has a penalty for Cardiff. And that's the kick that'll put Ospreys out
And himself.
and himself.
You miss it, obviously, right?
Huh?
You miss
Really?
it.
Well,
There's
there you
any
go.
sense he does, but we'll see. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on next week or 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's made for Ulster to take on Connacht.
Yeah.
And
in
the other
Ravenhill.
and then we've obviously kind of touched on it. Munster have to win their game against Connacht to get a home semi, and Edinburgh, Glasgow is obviously going to be a
Edinburgh, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Treviso, and Scarlets still have an outside chance too. So there's 3 of those going for that 3rd place, and anything can happen.
And probably will.
And probably will. It's hard. You'd think that Benetton will get the job done over Zebre, although I think it's in Zebre. But even so, I think they should get the job done. And if they do, I'm not sure they can be caught. I didn't study that part of it. They certainly can't be caught by the Scarlets. So
It reduces Welsh European hopes to the playoff.
exactly. So we'll see how that goes. Edinburgh obviously have a ding-dong battle against Glasgow.
just
They're also at home.
Benetton, Treviso are on 52 points, Edinburgh's on 51, and Scarlets are on 50. So
any win for Benetton puts them ahead of the Scarlets.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
a bonus point will put them ahead of Edinburgh for sure. So
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Scarlets have a fairly handy game against the Dragons. It's the, what do they call it? The
Judgment Day 2.
Judgment Day 27. Or, I think it's about 5 or 6 now. But
Only 2 of the season.
yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. But you got to fancy them for 5 points there. So if either Edinburgh or Treviso slip up, Scarlets are in there. You know, they're only, as you say, they're only 2 points behind.
Yeah. They make it an interesting last day.
It's very interesting.
One that we can have our kind of feet up.
We can have our cake and eat it. Well, hopefully we'll be busy planning.
We'll be up in Ravenhill. So it brings our season down to 2 games and possibly 4.
Yeah.
Because the Ravenhill we don't really need to do anything. We can send you, me, and the 3 of us could go up and play the game on our own against them, and we probably come home in hospital
In body bags.
We'd still wouldn't change Leinster getting their home semi-final. So we can play whoever we need to for that game.
I'm feeling it'll be very much the Cara Cup team. Oh, by the way, we did very well in the Cara Cup, for anyone who cares. Beat Munster in a ridiculous game.
Yeah, it was like 100 points scored, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we were thrashing them at half time, and then they came back.
Yeah.
And some wag said, "Were we forced to some of the Leinster players forced to go to Munster at half time.
So I'd say a lot of those, a certain number of those guys might get a bit of an outing against Ulster because, I mean, hopefully we'll have another, well, we know we'll have another game anyway. Hopefully we'll have more than one more game.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But Ulster will be up for it even if it doesn't matter because they'll want a bit of revenge for the Aviva. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So we take on Toulouse on Sunday. I saw a text came through with tickets available. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like this game is selling out at all.
Oh no. Didn't sell out last year against the Scarlets either.
No, but you know, you kind of have to question. Like, I certainly know fellas that were going for tickets. You know, they got their little email from Leinster Rugby, and they were given really terrible in the corner options when they were.
Well, first, it happens every year. But
there's no reward of loyalty there.
Absolutely none. And it's Ticketmaster's not necessarily stated ambition, but it's their ambition to get all the poor saps who are straight in there to get all the rubbishy tickets in the corner. They don't turn on the seat map for the first hour. They literally turned it on the hour. I was waiting for them to turn it on.
You see, that's
and
what
even
after
that,
hold your nerve until 1:01.
But even after that, the tickets I look for, I got reasonably decent tickets. I went for the upper east, pretty close to halfway in the row D or something. They were fine. I'm happy with them. I don't have a problem. But I did notice afterwards, like a week afterwards, that there were much better seats available that were definitely not available when I bought those.
So what doesn't help is that there's a fundamental lack of understanding about how the ticket sale proceeds anyway, right?
Well, if you think about it this way, right, it's in Ticketmaster or whoever's interest to have the best seats available that they can for all the people who are humming and hawing and going, oh, will I go? And then they see the really good seats available. Sure, I'll go. Whereas the diehards are going to go no matter what.
Oh yeah, well, tickets come online in tranches. I mean, we'll say for the sake of argument. I mean, it's not the exact figure, but we say for the sake of argument that there's 22,000 tickets for each team, right? So Leinster obviously are the home side. They're going to bang all their 22,000 on straight, or make them available because you can draw. What you do is the ERC or EPRC. It's a bit like the drawdowns that we're talking about at the FEI. They have your tickets in your account and you can draw down as many as you want, right? So you've got, and it's 50% of each category. So you have 50% of the East Stand lower, 50% of the East Stand upper, 50% of the South Stand lower, 50% of the 50% of blah blah blah, right? So Leinster's process would be just draw down the tickets and put them on, and then it's Ticketmaster's job to handle the sale, and they do that the way they do it. Toulouse would do things slightly differently. Traditionally what they've done, and certainly this is what they did in 2011 anyway, is they went through their supporters clubs, worked out how many they're likely to need, what those guys will want, and then draw those tickets down. And then when their period of exclusivity is over, the remainder go on sale. So you'll see, so Toulouse could...
They'll also hand back some after a week or whatever before. Yeah.
Toulouse could decide that they only want South Stand tickets. So they'll only take 4,000 South Stand tickets, and the rest will stay in escrow, if you like, until their period of exclusivity is. Oh, and that's why people say, "Oh, when I looked last week, there was no East Stand tickets left, and now there is." That's because those tickets come on sale. Then you also get a small amount towards the end of the game. You get do you ever see in a concert you have production ticket releases? You get the same thing happened with the EPRC. We say, for example, that. I don't know, FedEx decide not to send everyone to the match. So you get 20 tickets from them coming on sale. Jason, can you pick that up, please, actually, because that's a wedding present for someone?
Wedding present or
DJ. Claire, if you're watching this, don't worry, it's safe.
She's not.
So there is, I mean, it would help if the EPRC actually explained this, but they never do. And they always operate in this kind of cloak of secrecy because, to be honest with you, it suits Leinster, it suits Toulouse, and it suits the EPRC. Just blame Ticketmaster for everything.
I know, but I went online and I was looking to buy 4 Premier level tickets.
Yeah.
So I went in, the first one they offered me was in the east, the furthest east you could go. Then they offered me...
In the corner,
right? And then they offered me in the corner of the south and the west.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, I'm going to try again. And they offered me another 4 seats also. And I said, well, that's the third time I've tried. And it's the third corner I've got. That's
just wait for the hour.
I should have, yes.
choose
but I jumped the gun and decided, I'm going to go in and get them in case they were sold out. You know what I mean? Or I thought there'd be more demand maybe. But
Yeah,
I wanted to secure them, I suppose.
Yeah, the thing is well, obviously, yeah, and that's fair enough. But like what I did, I waited until 1 o'clock when the seat track, because I wanted the seats I get for my season ticket seats. I actually quite like those seats. You know the ones I'm talking about?
The ones behind the
goal. Up the back.
Behind the goal.
In the
about
corner.
3/4 of the way up. No, those weren't available. Those were, I'd say they're part of the Toulouse block, because they want French fans do like they do like to keep a few cheap tickets. So like my favourite ticket in the ground is actually the worst seat in the ground in a way. You know, way up high in the last row.
Because you're mental though.
Yeah, well, that's true. But that wasn't available. So I got my season ticket where I sit for my season ticket in the Aviva. I got those seats.
On the south lower.
South lower.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way up. Perfect.
Okay.
So I got
so
those.
You're happy out.
So, but that's because I like yourself. I got offered rubbishy corner tickets and rubbishy end tickets first, and I just thought, no, hang on, Dave, hold your nerve, you'll get what you. And I did. But it would help if people, if the organisers explained how it worked, so people wouldn't feel, because with a lack of information, all sorts of shit flows in to fill that gap. You know.
True enough. Anyway, turn our attention back towards the actual
rugby.
The game. So it's our third meeting of the season against them. Stands 1 apiece. But like if you think, and,
well, we have a comment in just to start this game off, and it's from Mick Thompson. Calling an abnormal convex curvature of the upper spine, but I think Leinster are going to have one of the toughest games this weekend. I've not been this worried about a semi since I watched Brokeback Mountain.
Good man, Mick. Well done.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I have to say, I'm not overly concerned with this, because I just look back and I'm just trying to justify it, right? If you think back to our match in October against them over in Toulouse, we were beaten by a point. We threw an intercept pass on 60 minutes that they obviously went down the other end of the pitch. We didn't play well and we held them to a point. We took them on the 12th of January in Dublin and absolutely dismantled them. The final score in that game was 29-13. 7 of those 13 points were scored in the last play of the match when they got their try.
They were well.
We beat them with a bonus point. Like we scored our tries all in the second half because they ran out of puff and steam. Sure, they've improved and they've gone on this run, but I just think that if we click, now we haven't clicked.
That's the thing. No, we haven't bloody clicked.
That's the thing. But
Johnny Sexton hasn't played a game for Leinster in a long time.
He hasn't. That's true. And but I do think he
didn't play that game, I don't think, did he?
I don't think so, because he hasn't played in January.
No,
he played in 2019 for Leinster.
Yeah,
but you've got, if you just look at the fellas that have come back, Henshaw's come back in. Furlong is fit after a bit of a scare. Toner's back in the team. Ryan. James Ryan
will be there,
yeah. I just think that those big name players, they obviously have to have big games. But I thought Sean O'Brien had a better game than he has. He didn't set the world on fire, but he was a lot better than he has been in some of his performances.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I think that the rambunctious line busting Sean O'Brien is.
But he needs to take the ball instead of being stationary.
Yeah, I think that guy's. I think that guy's a bit of a thing of the past. I think that now we're seeing the defensively minded Sean O'Brien. I think that's kind of his thing. So and then we've got Jack Conan to do that juggling with fire stuff, as you used to call it. So I think that's the thing. But I think that to a certain extent we don't have to play all that differently than we played against Glasgow to win this game. Because if we take them through the phases, I mean Glasgow were able to last us through the phases. I don't think they'll be able to do so. And I think that we'll be able to. I mean, Glasgow were able to take us through phases, which I don't think they'll be able to do.
I don't know. They play some pretty serious rugby. They play some nice flash it about rugby as well.
Yeah, but that's what they. I mean, that's.
It's hard to combat that offloading game,
It isn't. Well, no, it's not. No, we've done it for years. If you stop them running the ball, and that's what Sean would be there to do, or whoever's playing open side, it doesn't really matter, but we'd say it's Sean, is if you slow down their ball even half a second, that's everything. That's if they don't get quick ball, they don't play rugby. And after 5 phases, they'll just run out of ideas.
We hope so.
Because that's just the French, how French rugby is currently.
That's what happened to France in Lansdowne Road.
Same venue. We saw exactly France against Ireland in Lansdowne Road. We just choked. Ireland just choked them. They really did, by not letting them have the ball. And when they did let them have the ball, they made shit of it.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do.
Well, I'm sure that the brains trust in Contapomi, Lancaster, Johnny Fogarty and Leo Cullen will come up with a plan for Toulouse. I'm
sure the coach, the
one thing I think
Bandon Grammar School coach, is also coming up with a plan.
I think
I don't know if he'd come across Leinster all that often in the Cork Senior Cup. Though.
Maybe not.
I think that while we haven't looked too cohesive in attack in a good while, like I said, we haven't had Johnny Sexton in a good while, and I have a feeling that Irish teams always prioritise the Heineken Cup, much more than French and English teams do. I can see Toulouse, if they can get a head of steam up against us, they can do it. But if we can hold them out for 60 minutes, and if we're within a score at 60 minutes, I can see us.
They'll come out of the traps, absolutely.
They will have to come out of the traps.
If we can corral that ball and not let them get up any momentum, then I only see it going one way.
Yeah.
You mentioned there about French teams not prioritising. The one team in France that does prioritise.
Well,
let me just rattle off some of these stats for you, right? So we know we both won the competition 4 times.
Yep.
But the record is so similar. We've won 112 of 166 games, which is a 67.5% win ratio. They've won 111, so they've won one less game than us in 164 games, which is they've played 2 less games. So it's a 67.7% win ratio. So it's so tight. We've played them 11 times in the competition, and it's 6-5 to them. Mm-hmm. But it does go back now to
1996.
97.
95, in fact. The very first year is a semi-final, was it?
No, that was against Cardiff.
No, we played Cardiff.
Sorry, it was Cardiff, yeah. No,
but they won it that year.
We did play them the first.
I think it was the second year, it was 7.
You could be right.
And we lost both the legs.
Yeah.
I think they actually had a fire in their ground. They had
a huge record against us early on.
Yeah, that's right. Was postponed. Yeah, I remember it's 20 years ago.
But they were basically a professional team then against the amateurs. We Leinster, none of the Irish provinces were in any way professional until at least 98. Probably
we were getting fellas that were playing over in England.
That's right, yeah.
Even
clubs.
They were still playing for their English clubs, playing for Europe for us, because they weren't participating in Europe at the time.
Yeah.
It was unusual. Anyway, so we kind of touched on it, the selection. And I suppose there's a number of debates, but one of the main ones is going to be the 3 into 2.
Mm-hmm.
The meatloaf clause.
3 out of 2 ain't bad.
2 out of 3.
The
meatloaf conundrum. I think that's what we call it from now on.
Very good.
Very good.
I think that if they're all fit, I would tend to leave James Lowe out. They may not be fit though. Yeah, I know. There is a huge.
I'm just adding some drama to that.
But
it's late at night. We can do some blue stuff as well.
Yeah. But anyway, it's if your man is actually carrying something, Gibson Park. If he is carrying something, then it might not be. It'll be Lowe and Fardy. But I think we could do with Fardy's grunt in the second row. Obviously, we probably start Toner and Ryan, but we'll either have Fardy at 6 or we'll have him at 19. It's too important to match to not have him in there.
But you need to say that's a given that Fardy is going to be in the
Fardy's there. Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
So the debate then goes: do you play Gibson Park on the bench?
Yes.
In the possibility that McGrath doesn't play 80. Or do you go for it and play Lowe, who can change the course of the game?
it's a riskier one, and it's a semi-final. You need to win by a point. Doesn't matter if you juggle fire or if you bore the arse off people. As long as you win 6-5, it's cool in the game. So,
but you have to win the game.
Gosh,
of course you do.
Some game that happened maybe a decade ago
that we won 6-5.
That's been talked about a lot this weekend.
It is actually. Yeah.
So, for my money, like Lowe, if you need to rack up a load of tries for bonus points and all that, for sure. But
you have to win the game.
You have to win the game.
But you need someone to score and win the game for you.
That's true. But we do have a surfeit of wingers. Like, we've got quite a few. Okay, none of them are possibly as good as James Lowe, or very few of them are as good as James Lowe. But it's a huge risk to have Hugh O'Sullivan trotting on after 5 minutes when somebody cynically takes out Luke McGrath and he has to leave the field. You know, that's too big a risk for me. Call me cautious.
The one criticism I'd have of Leinster over the last, we say this year, 2019, as in the calendar year, is we have looked predictable.
Yeah.
And James Lowe gives us that something unpredictable.
Unpredictability.
And even in things that we do that are predictable, he adds an edge to them. Because he's just, he's never stopped. I mean, even when he's stopped, he's not stopped because he tries to go again. So if you're in a situation where you're facing down, Entomac or Cheslin Colby, and they've got those guys playing, you need something to counter that with, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
The downside of that is you do have, as I say, a very, very callow player on the bench.
Is that a mistake from the Leinster management not giving him more exposure in these last number of games? Yeah. In these where they are absolutely, from our point of view, meaningless.
I would think that they were maybe yes, but they also need. You see,
maybe that's a sign that what they're going to do.
They had
another problem there that because Luke McGrath was injured, they had to run him into fitness, so they had to give him games as well. It was unfortunate. I mean, the big problem. If it was Nick McCarthy, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't. We'd prefer to have all three available, but we'd be happier with Nick on the bench than we would be with you, purely from an experience point of view. Of course, for every young player, sometime they have to put a marker down. Like why wouldn't O'Sullivan take his chance if it happened to him on Sunday? I mean, the guy outside him got his chance in a similar situation and took it and never looked back.
Yeah.
So,
and if he's taken up a European spot, the management must think that this kid is at that standard. He mightn't have the number of caps on his or notches on his belt, but he's still a Leinster professional rugby player. He has to be a certain level to be considered that, to be given this European status player.
And the other side of it is, I mean, it doesn't matter how many scrum halves you have. There's no problem going out and signing, say, All Blacks on jokers. We've seen that. We know you can do that because it's happened in Irish rugby before.
Who's done that?
Other teams. So there'd be no problem going out and signing like an All Black on a joker in a short-term contract. But to take it seriously, I mean, if Leinster could well have, if Leinster were in that, they could have. If Leinster felt that they needed it, I'm sure they would have gone to the IRFU looking for an injury joker because they had Luke McGrath injured, they had Nick McCarthy injured, and they had this selection thing with the 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, they would have had a good case to make, and if they'd made that case, I'm sure we would have heard about it. I mean, the Irish rugby ship does leak. But the fact that they didn't means that they must be confident in these guys, and to a certain extent, that breeds confidence in the player themselves. If he's going, well, they've given me the opportunity now. They've obviously, and we've seen Hugh O'Sullivan over the last, we say, 3 years between his time in Leinster and his time playing Senior Cup rugby. Admittedly, not always at scrum half, but he's looked like a good player. He's looked like a really, really good player. I mean, he was top man on that Belvedere team, himself and Hawkshaw.
But so, you it's going to be, that's one selection that it's going to raise a few, like whatever they do, people are going to be, just like if they pick Lowe and Fardy, people will go, oh God, they're
taking a risk.
Until
I don't think we need to take a risk.
On Friday or 12 o'clock on Friday, whenever they name the team, there's going to be a big fat hairy lad with a frilly shirt and a big tissue waving it around until we get the selection, because we're going to have that 2 out of 3 situation. But I'd be confident whichever way they go, because if they go with Lowe, we've got Lowe.
Yeah.
And if they don't, well, then we've got Gibson Park on the bench. He's been really, really good.
There's certainly pluses and minuses,
Yeah.
and like you say, I mean, my choice would be to leave Lowe out, but if they went the other way, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. So, swings and roundabouts, as you say, Dave. Any other selection issues?
Snakes and daggers.
You got the back row. I mean, we kind of touched on it, obviously, with Fardy. Does he play? Does he bench? Does he... I presume he's not going to play in the second row. But then you've got O'Brien, Conan, Ruddock, Deegan might even be pushing.
I'd say Deegan...
The big selection debate in the back row is, has Sean O'Brien done enough to keep Max Deegan in the 20 jersey, or is it vice versa? Are you going to put him in? Has Max Deegan got enough minutes at 7 in the last few games to keep Sean O'Brien on the bench? Well, I'd agree with you, Dave. No.
I, to be honest with you...
But it's a debate.
It's a debate, but I mean, I'd be happier with Scott Penny than Max Deegan.
Well, he's not in the squad, so...
But the point I'm making is, he's a specialist 7. Max Deegan is a brilliant, brilliant rugby player who makes a good fist of playing 7 because he is such a good rugby player, but he's not a 7. And the things that the 7 needs to do against Toulouse, he doesn't do at all. That's just not his game. It's not in his playing style. We need a 7 who's going to do all the nasty, dirty, dark and deedful stuff at the breakdown. And that's not his game. It's just not in his... It's not in his rugby DNA.
Possibly not.
Because he's an 8. Like, I mean, he's great because he's such a good footballer, and he's going to be our number 8 for years to come. I'm certain of it. But he's not a number 7.
Big fat Jack Conan shaped arse.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I could see Conan moving around the corner.
And then where does Reece Ruddock go? It's the old
Darwin, dear boy, Darwin.
Yeah. It's, anyway, I agree with you, Dave. I just don't think
so.
that
are we saying Ruddock, O'Brien, Conan, or are we saying Fardy, O'Brien, Conan, or what are we saying?
Well, we're saying O'Brien, Conan, and then I think it's a toss of a coin between the two. I think they'll put Ruddock on the bench, not Ruddock, Fardy on the bench.
Fardy on the bench,
especially with Toner just after coming back.
Yeah.
Also, it's some grunt to have to come off the bench, like.
And some knowledge and nous.
All of that. When you see that trotting off the bench, and you're maybe Porter, him, a couple other guys ready to spring. Like, you're a tired Toulouse player who, their fitness is pretty good for a French team. You got to say.
Toulouse would certainly be the fittest French team.
Yeah. But they still might not be quite at our level fitness wise. So if you're tiring Toulouse forward and you see
just like
the like of them coming on to kill you,
supermodel.
Whatever. I think it's a good thing to have Fardy there to throw him into the mix. So that's your 19 and 20 is probably going to be Deegan and Fardy. Or Fardy and Deegan, should I say. So that's the back row sorted, and the second row sorted.
Front row picks itself.
Front row kind of picks itself, yeah.
I would say the halfbacks pick themselves.
Number 17 is going to be an interesting shirt.
Is it now?
No.
Is it Jack McGrath? Or
Jack
is
McGrath,
it
Red Burn.
Correct.
Red Burn. There's a bit of a debate to be had. Well, not even a debate, because they're both really good players. Jack McGrath is a Rolls Royce of a player. Ed Byrne is coming up strong on the inside. Jack hasn't
Ed Byrne's
played
the man in
well.
possession, though, isn't he?
And he's the man in possession. Jack hasn't played all that well, but he is the man for the big occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, true enough. That'll be an interesting one. And I think the back three is going to be... obviously there's the Lowe conundrum, but still...
It's the Meatloaf conundrum. We decided.
Sorry, we did indeed. But we've got Adam Byrne, Dave Carney, Rob Carney, Larmer, even Barry Daly.
All playing well.
Is Barry Daly in the
I
squad?
thought he was added to it.
I think he might have been, I think you might be right.
I think, especially after what happened in Toulouse, it'll be Rob Carney at fullback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have another, do they want to go with the power maybe of Adam Byrne or Dave Carney, or do they want to go with the hot stepping feet of Jordan Larmer?
Yes.
Dave Carney's playing in great form at the moment.
He's playing really, really well. So is Adam Byrne.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Larmer is an Irish international. Like the other two lads aren't currently in the, they weren't getting their game in Six Nations. I know there might have been injuries, but they still weren't involved with the squad. So Larmer's obviously up to that level.
Oh yeah,
so
you look at Dave Carney, right? He's won what? He's won 2 Heineken Cups, 3 Heineken Cups. He's won 2 Six Nations championships. He's I mean, he's one. I mean, the stuff he's won. I mean, there are very few players who aren't in their international team with his current haul.
Yeah, he's been very unlucky with injury in the last couple of seasons, hasn't he? He's been.
And the other question is then, of all those guys you just named, you named about 4 wingers plus Rob Kearney. Who is going to get the 23 jersey, or has Joe Tomani done enough, seeing as he can play centre as well?
Well, with the news that Rory O'Loughlin is back there's
another one, we didn't even mention him.
I'd say it's between Rory O'Loughlin and Joe Tomani.
Not one of the other back 3 players that you've just named 4 out of 5 of.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I'm not paid the big bucks to make these selections.
But like, does that not also feed into the James Lowe thing? All the people you've just named, okay, they might not be able to do what James Lowe can do, but
they can do it in 2 positions.
They can. There's a lot of stuff there that you don't. The one place you don't need to take a risk. You're not risking anything by not playing James Lowe. Yes, you're perhaps denying yourself some great attacking options, but you're not. It's not as if you're taking a huge risk by not playing James Lowe, as you are by not playing Gibson Park. I would argue, or Scott Fardy.
I think it's a great position to be in at this time of the season.
Yeah, well,
where with the exception of the 2 boys, with
Dan Levy and Josh van der Fleer,
we pretty much have a full deck to select from.
They're the big misses, and they're both in the same position as well, which is
and it's amazing, isn't it? Like you were you would have thought, looking at Leinster, you kind of go, well, like they've got such
depth at
the back row, and now it's kind of a little bit tight still. It
is a bit tight. Like Sean O'Brien goes down, with 4 games left in the season, potentially.
I think it's particularly like when they've had to nominate players for the European squads that you're kind of limited then to who's in there.
Now we're stuck kind of thing. Yeah, no, I agree.
One thing that I did notice, Wayne Barnes is going to ref. Like it's, I don't like criticising refs too often.
You love it,
but like he did our game over in Toulouse in October, and
we lost.
Well, we lost, but he also. He can be a little bit problematic with the way he interprets the laws.
He can be a little bit problematic with the way he interprets the French language. I mean, he's like that policeman in hello. Good morning.
Well, but that apart, he is a good ref. There's a good ref in there.
Yeah, he is a good ref. Most of them are.
I would tend to trust him.
It's a bloody rugby's a really hard game to referee because it's very technical. There's a lot of stuff going on in different places, parts of the field, simultaneously, that all has to be refed. So, I mean, the best you can hope for a ref is that I generally hope that if he's making mistakes, he makes them for both sides, and that's fair enough. I think rugby needs a second referee.
Yeah.
Second referee on the pitch.
Well, don't open that can of worms at 11:20 on a Tuesday night.
Can you just say that there's 2 assistant referees or touchies on the sideline that should possibly
call Glasgow offside.
Get involved
at
a
least
more.
once.
I mean, we stand, like John, you're pretty much directly across the pitch from us on the 22 line, and you should have seen them, like they were offside all day.
Yeah.
He's too busy with prawn sandwiches.
But like,
didn't have the right Mary Rose sauce this week. I was very depressed.
If the amateurs with the hip flask and the pint of Guinness can spot it, surely a touch judge can and tell the referee.
It's funny how they always only ever spot it when they're offside, never when we're offside, which is pretty much the same amount.
I know, but they don't intervene too often.
They don't intervene too often, and I think that for whatever reason, referees or the IRB, World Rugby, don't empower touch judges to referee the offside line. I don't know why, but if they're not going to, they have to empower somebody, because the referee can't watch everything. He can't be watching the ruck and be watching the offside line. I mean, he literally physically can't. It's not possible to do that. So they need a second referee, maybe an extra official to deal purely with offside. From rucks, mauds, and scrums.
I think that touch judges, assistant referees, whatever you want to call them, are perfectly set up for that, and they're actually measuring the offside line off line outs and scrums. You can see them pacing it out. So they're ideally placed. The laws are already there to allow them to do it,
but they're ignored. Like sometimes they do say, you can see them. Like Joy Neville was in front of us, and you could see her, talking to some of the players, but at the same time they were completely ignoring her and creeping up a couple of feet.
But that's something that the authorities have to decide who's going to referee offside. You know, they just are. And what are they going to do about it?
Yeah,
because it would create a bit more space in the game. Like they moved a few years ago, they moved the line out and scrum back the extra few yards to make it 10 meters rather than 5 or whatever. It was about 5 years ago they changed that, and they did have to create space. So what's the point in doing that if the space is all eaten up by people creeping into the...
I remember a couple of weeks ago Jason came up with one that sounded initially a little bit foil hatty, but if you think about it, it actually makes sense that it's actually been done on purpose to reduce momentum. If the lines are closer together, then there isn't the same momentum and possibility for injury. So, I wouldn't say... I'd say that might be something that's feeding into this, but I wouldn't say... If they want to clarify... I mean, the biggest complaint you often hear... I mean, how many times do you hear in the match? Offside, 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 offside. They have to sort it out.
Yeah. Half the time people are wrong, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, so you hear
sometimes
offside.
There's not even any ruck.
And
there are people going offside.
But still, like if you
and funny enough, never when our team is.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's another match on Saturday in Coventry, which seems a bit of an unusual
venue.
Yes,
it's the Borg against the Yorks.
It's
Wasps Ground, isn't it?
It's in Wasps Ground. It's 90 miles from where they play, and it's like an hour and 40 minutes up the motorway.
Who cares? Saracens Saracens crowd are fairly well heeled and fairly
sanguine about moving around the place.
A lot of them are retired. So I'm stereotyping there, but they don't have a huge crowd in their home ground. We have a 10,000 stadium. They fill it a fair bit, but they don't have the support that maybe your Leicesters or whoever would have, or Bath even.
Possibly because they move around so
ground.
often. Possibly,
but I don't think they care too much. Also, the other thing about Saracens is they don't care where they play. They'll beat you anywhere. They just
don't give a shit.
They just don't give a shit what field they're on. They'll still kick the shit out of you. They're the form team in Europe. They're favourites, I'd say. I'd be surprised if they're not favourites.
One of our esteemed rugby print media journalists was suggesting that Saracens won't know what hit them when they get to the Ricoh Arena, and there'll be like a load of Munster fans there. It'll be like a home game for Munster. You mean like the semi-final 2 years ago where Saracens absolutely roused Munster out of it in the Aviva?
Where it was a home game for Munster.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what these people are thinking about when they open their mouths.
Yeah, well, Munster have come a fair way now since that.
Oh yeah,
in fairness, and Blayandale played,
Munster
I think, in that game.
Proposition entirely.
And it's Blayandale again this week, who played in that game and had a bit of a shocker, I think.
Yeah.
But he's come a good bit, and Munster have come on a good bit. They're a little bit lacking in attack at times, but like they're really improved team, and they've got more of a 23 now than they had then as well. I just think, I'm not saying they're going to beat Saracens, but I think they're going to come a lot closer than
they
did, and there is a chance they will beat them. It'd be great to have an All-Ireland final in Newcastle.
They're the best from half in the Northern Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on selection, they've got the two of the most dangerous wings in world rugby, in Earls and Conway. And Chris Farrell seems to be playing really well. So, on the other hand, Saracens have all that anyway.
Yeah.
And they've also got
all that.
It's certainly going to be an uphill. I was just looking at the kind of trying to make a comparison between the two teams. Like, Munster have this kind of long established record of getting to semi-finals. Like, that's their 14th semi-final. Like, it's Saracens' 10th semi-final. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of catching up. Yeah, I was 10th. I couldn't.
Where have they managed to do that?
They should have made 3 in a row.
Yeah.
That's fair enough, but 10.
And then I was looking like, well, what have they won? They've won 4 premierships and 2 Heineken Cups since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were runners up in 2014 as well in the European Cup. You know what I mean? Like, they're constantly, like, Munster's last competition to win was the 2011 Pro 12.
Yeah.
Like, it's now going back to 11 seasons since they won the last European Cup.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, their big rich history it's kind of steeped in time now because they haven't won much.
And when that was happening, Saracens were winning nothing.
Yeah.
They got to Munster, a semi, I think, against Munster.
They got to 3 semis in a row actually back in the late noughties.
Yeah. That's why they got 10.
If Munster were playing almost anyone else, you'd fancy them. just because of how, not what they are or who they are, but how they are, in terms of their attitude and their process and their mental strength. The problem is that it's the one team, perhaps including ourselves, it's the one team, and I don't, as in Saracens have all that.
But they're missing Brad Barrett.
Yeah.
Last season we saw what happened to them when they played in Dublin in the quarter-final, when they were missing some of their big game players. Vunipola and second row guy, was he playing?
Itoje,
yeah. So, you know, like...
Marco's still out, I think, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think he is.
Is he?
Billy's all right.
Like those three lads, they've kind of built their team around, and if they're like Farrell, obviously, but Farrell's just a class player.
But your Farrell's up late with the baby, and
come here. Do you think Vinipolu's comments are in some way going to come back to haunt him? And
it'd be nice if they did for Munster's sake, but
just kind of take the focus off a little bit.
Yeah, I can't see it. I mean,
yeah, that's all been part. I mean, he's spoken to Saracens, he's spoken to the RFU, or they've spoken with him, whichever way you want to look at it. And it's done now.
Yeah. But like, is it done, right? If you've got these, okay, it's quite.
Sorry, what I'm talking about is in the context of this match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. But like, if you're a player for Saracens, you know, as far as I know, no high-profile players come out and say he's gay, right? So, but you know, statistically speaking, there's whatever 1 in 10.
Current player, you mean?
Current player, yeah. So 1 in 10, maybe. So there's bound to be somebody, statistically speaking, on the Saracens team, or even if not, a brother or a sister of one of the players who is. Like, surely they're gonna say, God.
Yeah, but they're hardly going to turn out to believe in Paul and throw him a dig, you know.
No, but they're going to think, you know, I had a lot of respect for that lad, and I don't have the same amount with his.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that extra thing that they need to do for
possibly,
him. Possibly, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it's a much wider conversation than a rugby match, but no, I think as far that what he did and said or tweeted or whatever, in the context of this match, has been parked.
Yeah,
certainly as far as because Saracens are renowned for their ability just to be so to ring fence their mindset.
But they're still human, and they still
yeah,
and they still have human emotions. Like at the end of the day, you know, if someone comes out and says something like that and agrees with Faletau's comments, and
Faletau,
sorry,
Faletau,
excuse me,
sorry.
You know, if he comes out and says that, I'm sorry, it's just people are going to have a reaction to it. Some might agree with him, others mightn't, and the fellas who don't might say, "Geez, I've lost a little bit of respect for someone who I thought was a great guy."
And I
can't see too many people agreeing with him in this day and age.
Yeah,
there's a lot of South Africans on that team, and some of them have quite.
Well, then it's not going to be an issue for them, is it?
No, that's what I'm saying. John was saying he's not sure who'd agree with him. I'm just saying.
But the thing is, anyone who did agree with and talking about the mindsets of top professional players, and I'm talking about your Leinsters, your Saracens, your Munsters, whatever. At the end of the day, they'll wait until the match is over and then they'll give him a puck. You know, I mean, Pocock was still able to play with Falau.
Yeah, true enough.
You know, and Pocock will be a leading ambassador amongst the heterosexual community for the LGBTQI movement, you know? So, if Pocock can do it and the way he is, I would suggest that for this match in and of itself, that issue is going to be parked. It's not going to be a factor. Yeah.
Anyway, so what do Munster have to do to win the game?
Score more points than Saracens.
But how can they go about doing that? Like, is that do they have any chance?
Oh yeah, of course they do.
I think they do.
Always have a chance.
I think they
always. And that's, I mean, what do Munster have to do? They have to be the most Munster they can be.
They have to be mega up for it. And like Saracens are renowned for their
mindset
and their defence and how they build their attack off their defence. How they chase everything down, chase all the lost causes, and they can actually, like they did a masterclass of it when they played Munster and Lansdowne Road there a few years ago. They were toying with them, you know, by one stage.
They just didn't allow them to have the ball, did they?
Yeah, I mean, they just contestables. They just ate them. I can't see it going that way again, but like that's the kind of thing you need to fight fire with fire, hammer the hammer on that one for sure. So when you know you get that from a Munster team though, you know they're generally mindset is generally pretty good. You've got Van Gran in there giving them a bit of South African, few South African tips in there as well to keep them, mindset wise, to keep them ahead of the game. I can just see it being a lot closer. Whether they can do it, I wouldn't write them off. Absolutely not. I think they could do it. I don't think they're going to disgrace themselves, and there's a chance they'll win it. If Saracens don't need to be that much off.
No, for
Munster to take.
It doesn't take much from. I mean, and the other thing about that Munster mindset is when they sniff blood in the water, they go for it. Like, I mean,
but unfortunately, so do Saracens.
That's the other side I was going to say. If Munster give Saracens a sniff, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw how they, to a certain extent, in a rugby sense, tortured Tyler Blandau in the Aviva 2 years ago.
Was it only 2 years ago? Be God.
Well,
yeah,
it was because we were away in thingy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what both teams. They're actually okay. They don't necessarily play the same kind of rugby, but they're kind of the same kind of team.
Hewn out of the same granite.
They are hewn from the same rock. Yes, John. Carved from the same oak.
So lads, quick before we go, what is your predictions for the two teams to make the final?
I'd say I'll go with the two home teams. More in hope than in hope on our side. Obviously, I hope Munster get the job done against Saracens, but I think the two home teams are going to go through. I certainly hope we are, and I think Saracens are. I think Saracens probably are more likely to win than we are. Not by a huge amount, but both, like Toulouse, can easily disrupt us, and Saracens or Munster.
We got a question in there on Facebook from Andy Crawford about possible sighting for Toulouse. We talked about it at the start of the show, Andy. That although he's been cited, his sighting hearing isn't until next week, which would allow him to play. However, the EPCR have pursued the LNR to get clarification on that, because under EPCR regulations, when you're cited, you're suspended immediately. So that'll come out in the wash.
Yeah, be nice to have no Joe Takori.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, boys, thanks a million. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.